Román, welcome to the cave.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Thank you for joining me today to talk about your new project.
Oh no, I appreciate it. Of course.
So, the viewers and the listeners are going to see you on CBS's new comedy Ghosts as a spirit. That's going to be an exciting time for you.
It's been a dream, man. It's been an absolute dream, and I'm really just excited that people are liking it, and because we're just having such a fun time shooting it. We're on episode 13 right now, and yeah, I'm living my dream. I'm having a great time. So when I hear people that are enjoying it, it just makes me feel, makes me feel good.
Yeah, man. Before we talk about the show, one of the first things I like to start my interviews off was like I want to know how you got into the industry. What made you get into this?
Totally, yeah. So I got into the industry because of my dad. My dad is an actor, has been an actor for the last 40 years or so. And my whole family is kind of a performing family. My sister, Ray Zaragoza, is a singer-songwriter. And my oldest sister, Danielle, did musical theater and acting
Oh,
throughout
wow.
her whole life. And so I was thrown into it at an early age, doing commercials and theater and all this stuff. And yeah, I just fell in love with it. And having a role model like my father to really to inspire me was always just like the greatest thing. And I'm just so grateful for my dad.
You're also directing and producing also.
Yeah, I actually ended up going to film school when I was 18 because I didn't get into the school I wanted to for acting. I
Mhm.
had like a quarter life crisis, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do acting anymore. I'm giving up. I'm done at 18 years old, which is hilarious, looking back. But I ended up going to Cal State Northridge for film production because I was like, I wanted to make my own projects because I'm done with going out for these stereotypical characters for like Asian characters or native characters that were just so stereotypical. I wanted to write my own projects.
Mm.
And then I, of course, kept acting as well. But yeah, I love directing. I love producing. I love being able to make my own projects.
Yeah. Now you grew up in New York.
I did for like the first 11 years of my life.
Okay.
I grew up in the city. My family, my two older sisters, my parents, we lived in a studio apartment in Greenwich Village on Houston and 6th.
No, what did you, where are you these days? You're in LA?
Yeah, technically I'm based out of Los Angeles, but we're currently in Montreal shooting Ghosts. So I've
Okay.
been here for the last 3-ish months, and I was living in Oregon for the last couple years as well.
Oh, wow. So what's the ultimate goal? LA?
I think LA, like to move back to LA. I grew up in LA for like middle school, high school, college, and
Yeah.
I miss it. Most of my friends are out there, so of course to return to LA would be great. Yeah.
You mentioned theater. Are you still involved in the theater?
I am, yeah. I've worked with Native Voices at the Autry. It's like I think one of the only equity Native American theater companies in the nation, and it's one of my like second homes that I get to go to. And I've also worked at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I worked there for the last, well, from 2017 to 2019, and that was a lot of my training. I'm thankful to both of those theater companies because that's my training right there, honestly.
No. You mentioned commercials and theater. And
Mhm.
now you do TV, of course. Like, what's your favorite so far? You think?
Oh man, I think I'm a theater kid. I'm a
Yeah.
theater kid. I love musical theater. I love plays. I love that nitty-gritty um I love that nitty-gritty theater. I love being able to go from the beginning to the end of a production every night. On TV it's
Yeah.
like we shoot episode 1, scene 5, and tomorrow we're shooting episode 2, scene 25, and it's
Yeah.
it's a little different. It has its, everyone has its pros and cons, but I love theater. I miss it.
Yeah. What do you think is like the biggest challenge between theater and TV now that you've done both?
Ah, that's a good question because I feel like a lot of things translate really well. Like, you really got to be invested. You really got to know where you were, where you're going, all the
Yeah.
circumstances for sure. But for the theater, I feel like challenges is making sure the audience is with you and playing for the audience. It's a different dynamic than when you're doing TV and film, especially like a single camera like Ghosts is, where
Yeah.
I can just play with my scene partner right there. I don't have to be playing for an audience. But then, of course, TV has its challenges as well.
Well, the next question was going to be
Mhm.
so CBS's Ghosts. Like, how did you get involved in this project?
Yeah, so I auditioned back in December of 2020, and just got an audition through my manager, and I was like, oh, this sounds like a cool project. And yeah, I was the last one cast, so
Oh,
the
really?
project was like starting on like, what is it, whatever date it was, but it was on a Monday, and I auditioned the
Mm.
previous Tuesday, and I booked it on that Thursday, and I drove down from Oregon all the way down to LA in like a day, and I was on set like right away. And
Oh,
during a
wow.
pandemic, it was pretty crazy, but I'm just so grateful to be part of it.
Was this the role that you play on the show? Was this the role that you went for at first too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sasappis. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I, the Sasapi, so you're a spirit in the show. Like how tell us a little bit about like how you're playing pretty much a ghost.
Yeah, it's fun to play Sasappis because we've had some really deep conversations about like who he is and how, how do you play this character who's a Lenape man from the 1520s?
Yeah.
Like who would he be 500 years later if he'd been dead for 500 years? And I was like, I don't want him to have some stereotypical accent. I don't want him to be, this stereotypical idea of what people think Native people are from like Western movies and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's very similar to me. He talks like I do, and I really bring myself to the project. And then the writing is amazing, and they just write him as this sarcastic, just so over it and always trying to put down like Isaac and stuff like that. It's fun. He's got this young spirit about him because he died at a young age, but he's this old soul because he's been dead for 500 years. So yeah,
Wow.
it's a dream. It's a fun character to play.
So when I was doing research on about the show was on BBC and they remade it for the US. Your character doesn't even exist on the BBC version.
Mm-mm. No, not
So
at all.
yeah, so when you book this role, like it's like like some of the characters probably went and watched the BBC version just to get an idea how
Mm-hmm.
to play this. How
Mm-hmm.
did you decide how to play this character? Also,
There was a lot of trying to figure it out
yeah,
because you were trying to figure out where Sasappis even fits into the ensemble, because the
yeah,
ghosts are like an ensemble for sure. And yeah, I was just trying to find like my place in it. Luckily, the writing was so great, so I was able to really rely on that. But yeah, for a long time, I've been just trying to navigate how he fits in, and he's just this dry guy who's just on the corner, and he's just like, shouting like little sarcastic things every now and then. It's a fun time.
yeah. Now, did you have you had any input on the character, like to work with the writers and the producers, like
I actually
how you
have,
think you
yeah.
should want to play the character?
100%. Actually, thankful our amazing showrunners, Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, were so open to anything. Like I send them emails constantly about, I have an idea about Sasappis. I have an idea about this. Da, da, da. What
Yeah,
if blah blah blah? And they're so open about it. Like we have some beautiful conversations, and they hired an amazing Lenape consultant by the name of Joe Baker. So that made me feel a lot better because I'm like, I'm not Lenape. I don't have extensive knowledge on the Lenape. I think you
mhm,
need to have a consultant, and they hired an amazing guy. And they also have a native writer in the writer's room by the name of John Timothy, who's Muskogee Creek. So it's cool to have that like native representation and not feel like I need to bear it all on myself.
mhm.
So I'm just grateful for that.
What do you think has been like the best part about your character that you enjoy the
Oh,
most?
best part about my character. Oh man, I think just the fact that I can just bring myself to him, the fact I can just use my voice, the fact I can just
Hmm.
sit in this character of that doesn't care. Like he just doesn't care about how people perceive him. I feel like I've learned a lot from him of like releasing all of this tension and stress and just like, hey, we're here, we're dead, we don't know what's going on, let's just smell some pizza, like live in the moment, like just do it, it sucks but we're here. And I've learned a lot from him.
Would you change anything about him if you could?
I think he would change what he's wearing. I think he of course loves his traditional outfit that he's wearing, and it pays homage to his people for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also what people see him constantly as. It's a nice commentary on Native people in film and TV, in my opinion, and Native people in society. in non-native communities where people still see native people like almost like living in teepees today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, native people are living in the 21st century, y'all. Like we look like this and we talk like this. And I think that's an interesting thing about him. I'm sure he would be like, you know what? I just want to eat. I just want to put on some sweatpants and call it a day.
How was it working with the cast?
This cast is amazing. I am so beyond just blessed to work with people that are not only insanely talented, but incredibly nice. Everyone is so sweet and supportive. And, you know, this is my first time being a series regular on a TV show. I was so nervous, but everyone was so just supportive and helped me trying to find my footing in this. And yeah, so the cast is incredible.
You mentioned my next question was actually about how, like, you know, this is one of your first like series, like being a regular, like, and you said you're feeling nervous. So what about like any advice from other cast members that have been doing this for a while?
Yeah, so much. I'm trying to think of right off the bat, but I think one of the biggest things I loved with like the way Utkarsh, you know, navigates like tough days is just really letting go, like surrendering to it. Just trust it, because it's so easy to get into your head about so many different things. And Rose would say the same thing. She's like, just say the lines, you know, like you got this, especially when you're getting so nervous, just say the lines, like trust it, trust the words on the page, trust that, like, trust your ability. So yeah, definitely that.
You mentioned you filmed 13 episodes already. How many have you guys been given to film so far?
It's 13. Yeah, 13
Oh,
was
yeah,
the total.
oh wow.
Yeah, so as of now, we'll find out more. We'll find out soon if we're gonna be going on more. We'll see. I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
I know the first episode released a few days ago. What was the reaction so far from friends
Oh
and
man,
family?
it's so my families are super excited. Friends are so excited, and it's a little surreal. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm happy to see that people are liking it and they think it's funny, because, you know, sometimes when you're in it so intensely, you just don't know. You're like, I hope it's funny. But then when you have your people that are close to you in your life who are like, that is actually funny, you're like, okay, cool. That's nice. So yeah, I think people are liking it, which is cool.
That's great. Well, so what's next for you now? Any other projects that you can tell us about?
Yeah. So I'm currently in post-production for a film that I produced back in May. It's actually my senior thesis from Cal State Northridge, and it's called "This Is Their Land." It's about the Modoc War that occurred in 1872 to 1873, and so we're just really trying to shed light on this history that people don't talk about. And in addition to that project, I'm also working on a podcast series right now with my
Nice.
American Indian Student Association at Cal State Northridge. So we're, you know, producing some, we're interviewing some indigenous artists out there, and it's been really fun to do that. And what else? You know, outside of the entertainment industry, I've been rock climbing a lot. I've been taking some Wing Chun, so things like that. I love learning. I'm an eternal student. So I love just learning new things.
How much longer are you in Canada for?
As of now, we'll be here for a little less than 2 weeks, no, 2 more weeks. So, you know, fingers crossed, we get to be here longer. We'll see.
Romana, how can the listeners and the viewers find you on social media?
Yes, you can go to my Instagram at Román Zaragoza. You can find me on Twitter at @RománZara_Goza. You can find me on TikTok as the Román Zaragoza, and I believe that is it.
Romana, thank you for coming on. This was great.
Of course. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.